How to Think Like Picasso. In another life, I worked for a bank that brought in interesting speakers. The speakers often came, as even those of us who know nothing about baseball beyond what Kevin Costner taught us, from left field. Left field is baseball, right? Aside from meeting some great colleagues, the guest speakers were the best thing about working for the bank. I got to meet fascinating thinkers like B.J. Fogg, whose book on forming habits has withered in the shadow of Atomic Habits, despite being the superior book, and Jim Benson, who taught us the art of the Kanban, a brilliant productivity tool. There were memorable misses too, one of which sticks in my mind. Michael Gelb wrote a book with the brilliant title, How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci, 7 Steps to Genius Every Day. Brilliant title because who wouldn't want to think like LDV? And so it came to pass that the success of the book gave Gelb a round-the-world ticket to take his steaming pile of claptrap on the road, charging God knows what for a presentation. Gelb's presentation contained a gem I'll not forget until dementia has me in its vice. Leonardo, Gelb says, carried a notebook with him everywhere he went. Yes, I remember thinking, so do I, feeling the soft-cover moleskin classic reporter notebook ready for action, as always, in my butt pocket. Further forward, my Pilot G207 was also standing by in my front trouser pocket. So, when Gelb mentioned Leonardo's notebook, I leaned forward in my seat, agog to learn what LDV did differently with his notebook from what I did with mine. His notebook made him a genius, while my moleskin and I were marooned in a second-tier bank. Nope, that was all Gelb had to offer on this one. Leonardo kept a notebook with him. And Gelb was on to the next thing, whatever slice of codswallop that was. All I learned that day was that an intellectual veneer can be such rich icing that some people will eat a cake of shite and thank you for it. I was reminded of Gelb and his patter by a passage in Lola in the Mirror, which is an affecting novel by Trent Dalton, so not a book that sets out to launch keynote presentations to bankers. Dalton's narrator talks about admiring another genius and artist. This time it's Picasso, whom the narrator admires not just for his art, but for how the names of his artworks told the straightforward truth about what he was painting. I fell in love with a painting called Woman in Green, which featured a woman dressed in green, just like the label promised. I liked his simple names like Bottle and Wineglass on a Table and The Blind Man's Meal, which featured a blind man having a meal. And that's the moral of my story today. The label you put on your service doesn't have to be fancy. When you know what your audience wants, label the tin with that. Michael Gelb brilliantly labelled his tin, How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci, 7 Steps to Genius Every Day. As I said at the beginning, who wouldn't want to believe they could think like LDV? And how fabulous that one could go from mortal to 15th century master in just 7 steps. My 30 years of experience in marketing tell me that businesses put extraordinary effort into trying to write cleverly, while the smart operators are writing plainly. If Picasso was happy to label his genius simply, so can you. Take a look at your marketing. Is what you do labelled clearly? Stephen. P.S. I'm keeping the doors open a bit longer for 1-hour reviews. You can book an hour for a Zoom meeting and we'll discuss any part of your marketing. Emails, website, landing pages. I'm talking about going through any part of your marketing where you want the reader to do something and they're not doing it or not doing it in the numbers that you'd like. I'll give you clear, no-nonsense advice that you can use to improve your conversion rate. This afternoon, for example, I talked through 4 editions of a lawyer's personality-driven newsletter. We talked about the subject lines, where she might be losing the reader, how to frame one topic to be more convincing, and how to structure the ends of her emails to lead to more phone calls from clients. As always, if I can't give you practical advice, I will give you your money back because, speaking plainly, you should only pay for results. Book a time at the link in the show notes. You've been watching or listening to The Obvious Choice, Taylist's newsletter, read by me, Stephen Lewis. You can get your copy directly to your inbox from taylist.agency/newsletter, and all links are in the show notes.